Welcome back to my channel. My name is Adipus today, and today we're going to be exploring the Basswood County videos found on the channel Dark Mind. What should we expect from these videos? A serial killer that isn't human, the discovery of a mysterious chamber in the woods that is the origins for terrifying humanoids, alerts about dismembered victims, and human bodies that are getting taken over. If you're interested, sit back and relax because we're going to begin, starting with the first video, Basswood County Humanoid Alert. Obviously, it begins with an alert, specifically an emergency alert for Basswood County at the time 2:26 a.m. This warning was from the Basswood County Police Department to alert the residents and neighboring counties about a humanoid creature that is invading the area. There's been 11 murders in which the victims were decapitated, had their limbs amputated, or had injuries on their necks. Because of this hostile creature in the county, the residents and neighbors need to follow instructions to keep themselves safe. The instructions were to close any potential entrances to your home, carry a weapon, and hide in the basement or attic. After this, the alerts describe the characteristics of the creature. Tall, long limbs, long neck, long fingers, unnatural face with menacing eyes or a smile, and short brown hair. We then get shown a silhouette comparison of the creature next to a regular human. There even seems to be something strange sprouting out of the creature. After this, we get shown 5 police sketches from eyewitnesses' account to help us identify the creatures. With the first image, I would have likely been one of the poor victims who got caught because the figure looks relatively normal, that is until we get shown the other figures, in which their appearances start to look more frightening, especially figure 5. I don't trust that smile. Anyway, static takes over the screen before proceeding to show us footage. It begins with a person filming a poster and the date is January 21st, 2020. The contents of the poster is about the creature killing people and the footage actually shows a sighting of the creature. Hello to you too, buddy! After this is the second footage taken at the victim's home. The date is October 7th, 98 at 4:43 a.m. and spotted at the end of the hallway is a humanoid creature. Once its neck extends, we hear fast footsteps and the video cuts. The creature's face covered the screen and everything turned black before returning, the time now being 3:34 p.m. and on the ground is a severed head. The footage cuts away and we change to text reading, "What was found in the victim's basement?" This came from a detective named Jeff Alberon. After this, we get an illustration of the creature with text that, in all honesty, I struggle to read. Something about killing, family, and something that looks human. I tried, okay? Last I checked I had 20/20 vision and lately I'm struggling. Anyways, footage 3. November 8, 98, 5:33 p.m. We first hear heavy breathing and get shown a viewing of a door in which a creature appears. We then get shown an image from the victim's disposable camera and the first video ends there. Alright, so far we know that there's creatures who appear human but they have something uncanny about them. Additionally, these creatures hunt down humans and dismember their bodies when caught. Also, the main location where these creatures seem to be spotted is in Basswood County. It's just a little bit of information, but we are just starting, so it's time to move on to the next video. Detective Jeff Alberson's tape, 1998. In this video, Detective Jeff did an investigation in a redacted victim's home and discovered a few tapes. There was a recording before the anomaly broke into the home and a sketchbook belonging to the victim. These are the drawings found in the sketchbook, and it makes me believe that the victim had previous encounters with this humanoid entity, which explains why they were able to draw it out. Anyways, we then get taken to the police department December 13th, 1998 and get shown a few tapes. First, a recording of the road before showing a hallway. The date is November 2nd, 98 and we hear strange noises and see the creature on camera standing by the bedroom window. And the next 2 images are the creature, which is super creepy. Long neck and unnatural things poking out of its body. The footage glitches and the video ends there. Next video is identity test. First opening with a scene in a film before distorting one of the actors' faces and switching away to a tape which its viewing is prohibited by law. Shh, we're breaking the law together. Now obviously based on the title, we're going to take a test in which we have to recognize the uncanniness of humans. Simple, but it was unnerving to hear the tape say, "We can hear you." We then get shown a few images and get given a few seconds to guess if a person is normal or not, and one is not like the others. Hi friend. Afterwards, we see an image of a humanoid figure and text asking, "What does his face look like?" We get presented 2 facial options and after guessing, the figure turns around to reveal their unsettlingly large smile and long neck. After this is text reading, "I will tell you what your mind cannot comprehend," which is repeated a few times. Then it proceeds with a photo or footage during June 12th, 02 and a person standing in the center of the shot. The person becomes corrupted, their neck and mouth stretching and their flesh sinking into their body. The footage then shows curtains with a pair of hands grabbing onto it and a head poking out. The figure was censored so we could guess what face matched the person but didn't get shown because it was a visual hazard. We then see the text, "The failure of Jeff Alberson," and we see an illustration of a man in a hat, then a recording of information on the creatures and other classified information before the person recording turns around and spots a creature wearing a hat. We then see more footage before reading text saying, "A chamber in the woods, where they came from, a door to a realm, we know where you live." And this gets followed up by more footage. The last footage honestly freaked me out. I knew it was a bad idea to watch this at night. Anyways, the next video, Peaceful Life, and it's the shortest video of the series. In this video, it gives the audience instructions of how to live a peaceful life. The voice tells us to not care about people's opinions, to go outside, sit in a park around the trees, watch the sea, and feel the wind in your skin. After this, we see a person, and they said that when we're not running, they are only getting closer. closer before their face distorts. Yeah, honestly, this video wasn't going to be an innocent one. I'm assuming these humanoid entities had an influence of the creation of this tape. Or maybe they have the ability to tamper with technology. Whatever the case is, it's hard to have a peaceful life when these entities are around. Anyways, next video, the chambers. If you forgot, we already learned about the chambers in the woods, and this must be referring to that. So the video opens with Basswood County before proceeding to talk about the chambers found in the woods where they came from. We then got information on a person named Calvin, and he was the one to discover an old building in the woods during 1868. Obviously, the specific location is in Basswood County, and in Calvin's journal, he described how the building looked futuristic, and it seemed like no one knew of its existence, let alone who built it. And once Calvin stepped into the building, he discovered people inside. However, despite looking human, there was something clearly wrong about these people. There is quote-unquote tree roots coming out of their backs, and they seem to show no emotions on their face, and they don't respond along with having unnatural limbs. This was an interesting discovery, but after showing hostile behavior was when Calvin escaped the building. After this, the video distorts, and we see what I believe to be one of the creatures in text reading, "I will wear your skin as a suit." It then cuts away to a missing poster for someone by the name Andy Stevens. And I believe we get shown what happened to Andy after their transformation, in which we see tree roots sprouting out from their back along with their flesh sinking into their body. After this, we get shown another piece of information, this one based on the Philadelphia group in 1996 who began investigating the multiple missing cases that happened within a month at Basswood County. While traversing the forest in Basswood County, they documented everything on their journey, and we get shown what was recorded. In the first footage, we see a missing poster for Andy before arriving at the chambers. Within the chambers, specifically the right corner, was discovered a humanoid being with most of its head gone and the ribcage exposed. The next location explored was an entrance of a hallway at the left zone, to where we see a small TV screen, a tape, and either a humanoid or a doll. The tape was titled Identity Test, and above that was a note with a familiar text reading, "I will tell you what your mind cannot comprehend." This must mean that the video that we saw came from here. Anyways, as the investigators continued, they discovered human remains, like a woman's corpse with her eyes and teeth missing and breaks and holes in her body. Additionally, her skin appeared melted like wax. After this, a corpse of a man was discovered, and this time with roots coming out of his back. The group of investigators then left the chambers, and we cut to footage of outside in the forest. But it seems like they're not alone in the forest because they capture images of the humanoid creatures. Not surprising, but only 2 out of the 7 investigators made it out alive. Big sad. Anyways, it's time to move on to the map of the chambers. In the map, it specified that the windows were dangerous, and the text showed that that's where the creatures came from. It then cuts away to a film with a voice asking the question, "What is a human?" A doctor then appears whose name and face was redacted, but we do see briefly on the screen the doctor's face, but oddly reminiscent to the description of the creatures. For this footage, the doctor is going to teach the viewer about human anatomy, or so they say. The doctor then goes on to say that humans are a chamber for them and that they will control your body. The doctor then goes on to point out the location of a human's head, which is where their consciousness exists, and their nerves. They even show what a human's head looks like when their body's getting taken over, and talks about a core that is created within a human chest so they can control the human body. The doctor also goes on to explain that the brain of a humanoid versus the brain of a human is different because they only have one purpose, and it's to be let in. Finally, the doctor goes on to explain the characteristics of a humanoid, which we already know based on the past videos. Long limbs, roots coming from their back, uncanny facial features, and no emotions. We even get shown the transformation of these humanoids, beginning with stage 1, which is their true form. They seem to have a humanoid shape, but obviously not human. Then there's stage 2 and 3, which its appearance is slightly changing, but once we get to stage 4 is when the changes are more noticeable. Still not quite human, but close. Once reaching stage 5 is when they finally start to look more human, but the uncanniness is still there. We also learn that it takes time for humanoids to reform their faces to appear human, specifically to look like you. And in the final moments of the video, we see all the stages, but the final stage is unusual because the lip and jaw is drooping and the eyes look hollow. Yikes. Now, my initial guess was that these creatures can go into human bodies like a parasite and take over their host, but based on the stages that we saw, there's a chance that these humanoids just started off looking very unusual since the beginning of their creation, and over time, that's when they can adjust their appearances. Maybe their origins was an experiment to create a human, but instead, these creatures were made. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. If it was a failed experiment to create these humans, these humanoids must have somehow discovered that they can take over a human body by planting a core in their chest and taking over their brain and nerves. This way, they can slip into a human body, almost like a skin suit, and take over. Maybe taking over a body speeds up the process to appear human, but if they don't have access to a human, they could instead have the option to change their own forms. I'm only assuming this because of the stages we saw at the final moments of the video. Then again, I could be slightly wrong, so let's move on to the next video. Basswood County Killer. It begins with an announcement to the residents of Basswood County so they can be alerted of a suspected killer. They're told to lock their homes and to carry a weapon for defense. We then get shown an image of the suspect before switching to a radio broadcast on November 12, 1994. It was a warning about the suspect, and witnesses stated that the suspect isn't a normal human. The suspect has unnatural speed and tends to act strangely, sometimes tying up their victims. We then get shown the last found footage of the suspect on CCTV. The dude is just staring at the camera, but staring at it ominously. Anyways, we then read text stating, "Keep running," and we see footage of a person, but instead of running, they hid, and they got caught by the suspect. And in the end, we see an illustration of the corpse, and the victim's arms and legs were removed. And we even see footage of what I believe to be that victim, but they're in a bag. I guess running is the best option. Anyways, next video. Before you sleep, informational tape. The video begins with text stating, "I feel like my soul is being dragged into that place. A parasite taking over my mind. I can't sleep anymore. I'm going insane." We then see the Basswood County Police Department symbol, and if it wasn't obvious by the title, this is going to be an informational tape. There are many reports of people having lack of sleep and their mental health degrading due to insomnia and night terrors. With this, the purpose of the tape is to give methods to help those individuals and to put a spiritual distance between them and redacted. The footage corrupts and we see an unsettling face with text reading, "Are you still awake?" That then cuts away and we get shown the instructions. Step 1. Go to bed at an even hour, meaning 10 p.m. or 12 a.m. or 2 a.m. It's important to not sleep in an odd hour because this way you'll avoid risking sleepwalking. Step 2. Look at the clock before sleeping and see if it's ticking or not. The footage then gets interrupted and we see footage of a room with a humanoid appearing in it. Step 3 was skipped and we move on to 4. Sleep and bury your consciousness. Let them in. That's unsettling. We then see someone's eyes shoot open, and once they sat up in bed, their face started to warp and transform as the camera zooms in. We then see more unsettling footage of the humanoid, and at the end we see a TV. And these are all the Basswood County videos so far. But we're not done yet, because it's now time for me to share my theories on what I believe to be the timeline of this series. I might get some stuff wrong, so feel free to correct me. So 1868, a man named Calvin discovered a building that was described to be futuristic and was a mystery. It was called the Chamber, and inside were humanoid beings. A few years have passed since that discovery, and it's now 1996, and people are suddenly going missing in Basswood County, which is the same area of the Chambers. At first it was presumed to be a serial killer, but once witnesses started stating that the suspect is clearly not human is when more focus was put on it. A few years passed, and with some detective work along with footage, they realized that whatever is taking over Basswood County is clearly not human and something very dangerous. Investigators even discovered the chambers, where they found more information on these creatures. They're like parasites that can take over human bodies or even change their own forms to appear more humanoid. When they're taking over a human body, they create a core within their host and slowly take over their consciousness. Now, why after all these years since first being discovered did these humanoids decide to take over Basswood County? I'm not fully sure myself. Maybe they got fed up of being locked within the chambers, and maybe their main reason for wanting to take over a human body is so they can force their way into human society. And if they don't want to join human society, maybe it's all survival instincts. Taking over human bodies and likely feeding off of their victims' limbs might aid in their survival, or they might want to get stronger, and the only way to get stronger is by feeding off of humans and leeching off of them. So they have to leave the chambers in order to find humans. Additionally, if they are anything like parasites, their main objective is survival. Well, actually, according to one of the videos that we saw, technically their main purpose is wanting to be let in, but that can still connect to the whole wanting to survive longer thing. Entering a human body equals longer life for these things? Maybe? As for the tree roots sprouting out of people's backs, that oddly reminds me of the zombie ant fungus. When an ant is infected by a specific type of fungus, they hunker down in an open location and they sprout out something from their backs. Maybe it's a similar case here, but instead of a fungus, it's a parasite, and instead of an infected person hunkering down, they constantly seek out other humans so they can take over their bodies or to dismember them and take their limbs. Now, I have no clue if these humanoids can cause a spread to create more like them, or if there's only a few humanoids terrorizing the people of Basswood County. Or maybe I'm interpreting the videos wrong and there's only one humanoid doing all this chaos. Whatever the case is, it's still very dangerous regardless of their numbers. And I also have a random theory where I feel like these humanoids are tampering with the tapes and alerts that we are seeing. Maybe they want to take over humanity and are trying to influence people in the wrong direction so they can be easily infected. Or maybe I'm looking way too into this. I could be very wrong after all. All I know for certain is that these humanoids want to be let in, and they are uncanny looking and have roots coming out of their backs. Besides that, my theories are just that. theories. Once more videos come out, I'm sure we'll get more insight. And in all honesty, I'm very curious about these humanoids' origins. Also their main motivation for leaving the chambers after all those years since being discovered, and if they can infect people and make more of themselves. Oh, and also why they dismember their victims. Either they're feeding off of their victims' limbs, or they're just sadistic. Maybe they're collecting limbs to do some sick Frankenstein monster experiment. Who knows? Also, I've heard theories that these humanoids are likely trying to copy certain human appearances, and maybe their reason for killing people is so they can get rid of the person that they're copying. Identity theft or something, they're cloning. And if that is the case, then I guess maybe they are trying to infiltrate human society. Additionally, taking someone's identity can also help a lot with manipulating humanity if they take the right identity of an influential person. I also heard another theory that these beings are likely, alien parasites, but I don't know. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but with that one illustration that we saw of a person with some of their head missing, it's believed that humanoids can pop out from someone's head. Meaning when they take over a human body, they can start off as a core, then they take over the brain, and then they slip out of the human once they are ready. Almost like a cocoon. Starting off as a caterpillar, then a beautiful butterfly. But in their case, they start off as a parasite, then they use a human body as a cocoon, and then they become an uncanny monster with roots coming out of their back once they explode out of their victim's head. Wow. Now I could be wrong about this, or maybe I'm onto something. Who knows until more videos come out. And if there is a piece of information that I'm missing, or if there's something that I failed to connect the dots to, please tell me in the comment section. Also, if you want to check out the channel and the videos yourself, links in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and do that funny little notification thing. Anyways, my name is Ripa Estrella. I hope you have a good day, and goodbye. I better not catch you dying on me. Woo!